While we're letting people in, you're hearing some of our student panelists chatting. Some of them know each other, some of them don't. That's the great thing about this program is there's always opportunities to meet new people. I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm just going to go through a brief presentation. Probably should introduce myself. I am Beth Wong. I'm the Associate Director of Student Engagement, and I oversee the Vetter Dean's Fellows Program. Is everybody seeing the screen pretty well? Good. Okay. Okay, great. Awesome. So this is just to give you a little bit of information about the Steve and Debbie Vetter Dean's Fellows Program. So Steve and Debbie are the donors for this program. Oops. And just wanted to highlight a few key people that are important to this program, myself overseeing the program. Dr. Aaron Long, and I failed to put the Dr. Terrence McElroy. They are the faculty, the instructors for the required course that will be starting in Mod 4 for first year Better Dean's Fellows students. They will also then be implementing the second year required course. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Camille Walton is the specific career and leadership career coach that works specifically with our program. Some of our students work with a variety of different coaches, but she is our liaison, helps us really stay up to date and tracking our information about the Vetter Dean's Fellows and their internship and job offers and acceptances. And then Caitlin Murphy, she is on the global programs team, and she is the person that puts together the global immersion that Vetter Dean's Fellows have the opportunity to participate in. Wanted to just give a brief overview. This is a picture of an opportunity where Steve and Debbie are in the front. And then we have our second years. This is a picture from our second year send-off for those that are graduating. So we do that every year for the second years, and Steve and Debbie attend in addition to some of the other events that we have throughout the year. But wanted to highlight the program's mission is a transformative learning experience that is to help build and empower future business leaders, the Vetter Dean's Fellows, to achieve their full potential, make an impact on the world. We take this approach by investing in the long-term success, looking at the students holistically and how can we help them grow. It is founded in leadership development. So we have 4 pillars, one of them being leadership development. There's recruiting, networking, and giving back. We'll be talking a little bit about those. I'll be briefly giving an overview right now. So these are our 4 pillars, but then also what I have underneath are the core values of Kenan-Flagler: integrity, inclusion, innovation, and impact. So we really try to integrate those into our 4 pillars as well in the work that you do throughout your 2 years through the Vetter Dean's Fellows program. To break that down a little bit of what that looks like, leadership development happens by bringing in experts for seminars, webinars, speaking events, and workshops where you can learn from the experts in leadership development, experts in different industries. I'm actually currently at Truist Leadership Institute. I got a tour of the facilities. We have our first year students attend the Emerging Leaders course. It's an opportunity to participate in. It's located in Greensboro. We all travel over together. It's a day event, and it's a really great opportunity. It's a beautiful space. I'm currently looking out at all of this wonderful nature and outdoors, and it's just got the best scenery ever. And then we also have recruiting opportunities specifically for the Vetter Dean's Fellows. Focusing, working with the career coach and liaison, so Camille, and her expertise in the market and your experience as a fellow. We also have a resume book specifically for the Vetter Dean's Fellows, and we work with employers to communicate with them. What does this mean to be a Vetter Dean Fellow? Why are we showcasing these students? These are some of our strong leaders that are very service-minded, giving back. Then we also have networking opportunities specifically for these fellows to network with employers. We invite industry speakers in, as well as in some small group settings, you'll get to network on the level with employers and recruiters, but also with your peers. And then giving back. So we have a service project, one-off service projects here and there, such as Habitat for Humanity, Ronald McDonald House. But we also have a group of students working with the American Red Cross on a more long-term service project of giving back using their business expertise to help the American Red Cross when assessing their facilities and their management of it, and how we can maximize the assets and how to redistribute some of that. We also have the Fellow Committee. So that is a group of students that are part of the Vetter Dean's Fellows that help build out some of the events, socials, employers that come to campus, and we work together to put on an experience for all of our students. Just wanted to highlight a few things. I've mentioned some of these. I'll talk a little bit about the Professional Development and Technology Fund, so you have some access for funding there. The GIE, so the Global Immersion Elective that I talked about, fully funded. So there's no cost for the course, and you get $1,500 stipend towards your airfare. We have leadership curriculum exclusive to these fellows, a required course that is newer and will be starting this year. Your coach, leadership opportunities, the socials, special access to employers and service opportunities. This is a picture of our group of students. It looks like Tyler, you're in that picture. Can you tell us, do you remember what this picture is from?
Think that was the very first orientation before like pre-orientation where the VDF members come in, like we'll call it a day or two before
Yeah.
orientation starts and gets a chance to meet with each other. I almost am positive that's where it's from.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, for those that don't know, I joined in November of last year. So I am so glad to have the students here to be able to give their perspective. But so yes, before orientation, we do have a retreat for usually a day or two to be able to give you an experience to get to know your peers in this cohort and these students coming in as Vetter Dean's Fellows. I mentioned the Professional Development Fund. Something that is also newer is the Technology Fund. So for first years, we provided the opportunity for a $1,000 reimbursement for technology needed for them to be able to successfully make their way through the program and securing jobs, so on and so forth. But then also every year, each first years and second years, each year get $1,000 to be reimbursed for professional development. Variety of different ways that you can get reimbursed or variety of different opportunities you can get reimbursed for. And so these are just some examples, but we also have, room for other areas if students are wanting to be reimbursed for other professional development resources, so on and so forth. This is a picture from the Global Immersion Elective. I believe this picture is from Rwanda, where they've gone in the past. March of this year, we will be going to South Africa. The focus is on responsible leadership. As I mentioned, it's fully funded. You get a stipend towards your airfare, but just a short-term global experience abroad where there are aspects of service as well, incorporating that giving back pillar that we have. I've mentioned the Truist Emerging Leaders Institute. We have faculty, coaches, and industry leaders that we'll bring in. This can change and vary year to year depending upon where our students are, what industries they're in, and we tried to meet the needs of the students based upon what industries they're looking to recruit for, what expertise are they looking for. So we do get feedback from the fellows to identify what is it that you need and how can we help provide that through leadership curriculum. Here's the picture of Camille. She is the Associate Director for Career and Leadership. She brings her expertise and special access to employers. We're going to do lunch and learns with her. And we have a lot of opportunities to engage with her at different events that we have. We usually for socials or leadership opportunities, we do bring in some of these other faculty and staff to engage and network with on a consistent basis. A quick overview, and I'm happy to share this PowerPoint so y'all don't need to worry about writing all this down, but this is what it can look like over your 2 years and what happens typically both years. One thing I'm really wanting to build out is a mentorship opportunities. I know there's a lot of informal mentorship opportunities that are already going on right now of students helping out one another. That's what I love about this community, as these students want to help one another. But this is just an outline of what you can expect on each of your years, what's typically required. Yeah. If you need to reach out with any questions, if you want to discuss more about the program, anything like that, you can reach out to me. That is my email address. Again, I'll send this PowerPoint over to Audrey so she can send it out to anyone who may want it, or if she just wants to send it out to everyone, that's fine. that is all that I have to share. I want to first take a moment to see if there's any questions from any of our participants before we move over to the panel. Anything I covered that you have questions about? Wonderful. Yeah.
Oh, I just had a quick question. I was curious on the retreat because I'll be moving out to Chapel Hill at that time. Is the retreat usually off-site or is it on campus?
So we're still figuring out what location we're going to do. Sometimes it's on campus, sometimes it's off campus. If it is off campus, it's usually at Rizzo Conference Center. And so that is very close to campus.
Okay.
Um, so we usually do the retreat, well, August 4th is when orientation starts. It is my goal to and my intention to have that Saturday and Sunday before for you to be able to do your things. I believe I'm making it Thursday and Friday for the retreat before August 4th. So if you have any concerns about that timing, reach out to me and let's talk a little bit more about that.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Any other questions before you get to hear from the students? Okay. So we have some students here, and what I'd like to do is have them introduce themselves, just say their name, what year, maybe area, industry that they're focusing in, any internship or job plans currently, and then we'll get to hearing from their experiences. So Rashmi, do you mind starting?
Yeah, thank you so much, Beth. Hey, hi everyone. How are you doing all? Very great to see everyone here. So my name is Rashmi and I come from India. So I'm an international student and I landed into US like almost 5 months ago. And since the time I joined here, everything has been like super fast, roller coaster. So before even landing into like orientation, we had this 2 days of Veterans Fellow orientation, which was like a very fun thing to do. Like we get to do a lot of team bonding. Like I just knew who are my best friends from the Veridine already, even before coming on campus, which was like very self-reassuring. And then going forward from there, orientation kicked in, everything was like super fast. And then we got divided into our legacies and everything was just like super cool. So yeah, for me currently, I am pursuing consulting and tech. So I'm looking for mostly product management role because I come from tech background and I have almost 6 years of work experience. So yeah, looking forward to doing that in future.
Thank you, Rashmi. Samuel, do you mind going next?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Samuel Ubechu. I'm a Nigerian, and I went to like college and medical school in Nigeria. I'm a medical doctor, and I was a practicing surgeon before I came to the United States. And I came to the United States for the first time to pursue a Master's of Public Health. I went to the Yale School of Public Health down in New Haven, Connecticut. Spent 2 years. I was in a lot of leadership positions. And I knew that I wanted to do investment banking, and UNC was like the best school for me. Even though I got into other schools, I got into Yale, SOM, Boots, Darden, Duke. Well, I came to UNC specifically because I would say I got like merit scholarships everywhere I applied, but UNC was the only school where I got like a merit scholarship and something else, which is this, the Vita Days Fellowship. So I just wanted that extra thing, you understand? So I'm coming to UNC, I would say that's like the best decision I made. And like this summer, I'll be going to Jeffries as an investment banking summer associate.
Thank you, Samuel. Tyler, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Beth. Good morning, everyone. I'm Tyler Wise. I'm originally from Charlotte, North Carolina. Went to Winthrop University for undergrad, studied economics, and I did a master's in applied economics at Johns Hopkins University. Worked in financial services before business school, came back to business school wanting to transition into investment banking. I spent my summer at Wells Fargo in the financial institutions group as an investment banking associate in New York, and I'll be going back there full time this fall. The VDF program has been great. Now, since I've been in for a year and a half versus just a semester for Rashmi and Samuel, I can talk a little bit more about my experience. It's going to be a little bit different than what everyone on the call may experience because we've gone through some changes in the program, but all for good reason. Happy to talk about my experience. VDF has been very fruitful. Really looking forward to, as the GIE that Beth mentioned earlier, that's the next big thing for the second year class going to South Africa. So Beth, happy to answer any questions that may come up for the panel.
Wonderful. So I was trying to choose between whether I'd have y'all have students share a little bit more about their experiences, but I think what I want the most is for everybody who's joining in as a participant to be able to get your questions answered. So what questions do you have for our current students about the Vetter Dean Fellows program? Or you might have some questions about the full-time program in general. But yeah, what questions do we have?
Hey guys, my name is David LaPasha. I would love to hear y'all's perspective, just kind of looking back in retrospect, being in the position that we're in now. What would be, I guess, if you guys had any advice, whether it's getting prepared for the full-time MBA program itself or specifically Vetter Deans? I know that we have that kind of pre-orientation. And I know that it can be involved, from what I've heard, especially in that first year. And just any advice that you guys have, I would love to hear.
Yeah, I can go first. So I wouldn't take so much of your time, but I'll just say one thing. Before coming into the program, try as much as possible to finish the business foundations. It's like, I don't know if you guys have gotten that email. Like you have to like go through accounting, finance, and statistics. Just like finish it to all the quizzes and homeworks, turn it in before you come to campus so that you can like have all the time in the world to like network during the VDF retreats and during the orientation, because the orientation is like I think it's like 3 weeks long, but it's like it's the best thing, trust me, because that's when you get to meet with a lot of like your classmates. That's when you get to know what you really want to do in business school, because there's a lot of speakers, past alums that are in like various leadership positions that just come to campus to like talk to you, whether you're interested in marketing or investment banking or consulting or tech. You have like a lot of resources, and those 3 weeks you're networking and also taking time to decide on what career path to pursue.
Thanks for sharing that, Samuel. I did want to share that, yes, in the past, orientation has been 3 weeks. I think it's going to be 2 weeks this upcoming year. So I didn't want anybody to freak out and say, what am I missing? Yes, in the past, it's been 3 weeks. So I appreciate you sharing that. And just for my own knowledge, since I am newer, before I was with the online MBA program and business foundations was not required. Is that required for students to do before? Okay, yes, then definitely get that
It started
done.
as required in my year. Yeah.
Okay, great.
And even if it wasn't, I still would highly recommend to do it.
Yeah. And it's going to be part of like your mod 1 grades.
Yeah. I'll give an answer, and I'll just add to Sam's. Don't worry about if it isn't released yet. Don't worry about it. Whenever it does get released, whether it's like March or whatever, you don't need to do it all at one time. Just as Sam said, have it done by the time you get here, and you'll save yourself a big headache. So what I'll say for a couple of things, David, good to see you again. With the VDF program specifically, there's, in preparation before coming to school, nothing to do, because you're going to have so many different things thrown at you. You're going to have the opportunity that one of the very first things you're going to do is be able to meet face to face with no obligations other than networking. You'll get to meet your classmates in the VDF program. So really not a ton to do there. The programming is still, of course, evolving. There's really just nothing to necessarily prepare you for it. Getting in is the biggest step. And so as far as getting ready for the program, the only thing that I can recommend is whenever the time comes, find your housing. Other than that, don't do anything for the program, because you're getting ready to start a 2-year journey that is going to take up all of your time, where you're going to be having to say no more times than you say yes, because there's so many things to do. Enjoy the time until you start in the program, of not having to worry about getting back in the swing of things with school or worrying about recruiting for a new career. There's really just not, unless you're going into like a very specific industry, like we'll call it banking. I'm a little bit biased there. There's stuff that you could do, but even then, I would tell you not to necessarily worry too much, because the program is going to give you everything that you need to do as soon as you get here. So enjoy the time that you have before you have all these responsibilities thrown at you.
Perfect. I think I want to add something is, so I know like everybody just have some goals in the mind before coming here, like they want to do consulting, they want to go for IB or stuff. So what actually helped me before even coming to the program was there are some pre-MBA stuff that happens in the month of like May or June when all these top firms actually start giving their presentations like in a virtual way just to get started. So if you can just attend those things and see like, how does that feel? That actually gives you like a perspective, like, do you want to do this in the future? Like, does it make sense to you? So that will be very helpful because I know some of my friends even got like internships from there. So that was like a very cool thing to say. So if you can invest your time and just explore like initially in the month of like June or July, like how does it feel about this field? So then you can just see and go from there when you come to the program and get started like full-fledged.
Awesome. Thank you guys all. And go ahead.
Let me add one quick thing to what Rashmi just said. A lot of the opportunities that are available in the summer as well are typically diversity opportunities. So it's good to just be mindful of what's available. Typically the ones that are available, like the internships that you can secure over the summer or just networking opportunities, a lot of them are diversity. So if you're part of Fort or Forte or some of the other things, they will have programming there. As far as what I know from like investment banking, there's not typically a bunch of stuff available unless it's diversity, which people have landed internships for consulting, investment banking, sometimes tech in the summertime through the diversity hire.
Awesome. Thank you guys all. And thank you guys also for taking the time out to be on this call too. Tyler, great to see you again.
Any other questions?
I had a question about the GIE. So Cal McGuckin, by the way. Hi, nice to meet you all. So how is that location determined? You mentioned they went to Rwanda last year, they're going to South Africa this year. Do the students have any input on the location, I guess is one question. And then is that, as a Vetter Dean's Fellow, do you go each year, like in your first year or second year, or is it one experience for the whole kit and caboodle? And then is there a bifurcation between the first years and the second years? That would be like 50 people going on a trip together. So like operationally, I guess, how does that work?
So do any of y'all want to answer? I don't know if that's something you feel you can answer.
Yeah, I can take most of it and Beth fill in the blanks where I may leave stuff out. So in the past, the year before I started was the last time that the group went to Rwanda. Unfortunately, in my first year, let me take a step back. Only second years do the global immersion. First years do not do any kind of major travel like that. It's designed specifically for second years. The year before I started was the last year that they went to Rwanda. My first year, the second year students were supposed to go to Rwanda. Unfortunately, there was a conflict that broke out in the region the week before they were supposed to go, and there was like a national security advisory where they were unable to travel. So unfortunately, the second years in my first year did not get to experience that. Now, with my class, we will be going to South Africa. The students do not have input over it, unfortunately. I say unfortunately, but it's not really like you don't want to have to plan all that stuff. That's why we have people hired to do that. The vetters also have their input, but we have a team that runs global immersions between doing DBIs, which are called doing business in like short programs, or GIEs, which are just UNC specific international experiences. Happy to talk about both of those because I've done or will have done both by the time I've graduated. But we don't pick. It's wherever they can build somewhat of a curriculum around whether it's sustainability, leadership. Typically, it's going to be revolved around leadership, and then can also have a service aspect in a place that's not necessarily like a traditional travel area for, we'll call it the majority of MBA students. So like, we're not going to go probably to London and go experience something like that because people have the opportunity to do that. And there's not necessarily as many opportunities to go experience like a new global leadership aspect there. So I think that might have answered everything. First years do not travel. If I miss anything, Colin, let me know.
I want to chime
No,
in
I
on
think
a
you nailed it. Appreciate it.
couple of just two things. One, as Tyler mentioned, that we have a whole team that works on planning this. They think strategically about what are some of the places that we can be going. So that's our global programs team. So that's Caitlin Murphy. The staff member who's going on the trip this year is Stacey Amy. They are just such a wonderful team. Valerie is awesome. She's the director. So they do pull all that together. And then the second piece I wanted to say is you can go on a GIE or an international travel for your coursework your first year, but it will not be funded by the Vetter Dean's Fellows program. So it's fully funded for the second year. So if you want to go your first year, you can. But yes, as Tyler was saying, it's just for the second year, is fully funded. And you get the stipend for your airfare. And I have been told by the Global Programs team, they have been on lots of trips. And one of their favorite is Cape Town, South Africa. So I'm just saying it's going to be a good one. Any other questions or anything we didn't answer already, Callum?
No, sorry, didn't realize I was muted. Thank you. That's
Yeah.
great.
Hi all, my name is Alyssa. I've got a question. Would just love to hear maybe a little bit more about some of the Vetter Dean's experiences that you guys have had and how those have contributed or helped you in your recruiting process, or if anything like aspects of the leadership development you think have helped in your, I guess, like networking or securing your internships.
Yeah, I can jump in. Like Tyler is a Vetter Dean, and he's like the executive vice president of the investment banking club. So me coming in as a first year, like I knew like there were some biases towards me because I'm also a Vetter Dean. And like even during the I think the two vice president, the two EVPs of the investment banking clubs, of the investment banking club, they are Vetter Deans. And even during the recruiting process, like me saying a Vetter Dean, like all the alums, they know what that means. Like, because you guys are like a select group of students in the program that have been given this opportunity. So that means a lot. I remember like one of the experience I would share is I jumped on a call with a banker. He works at Evercore. Tyler, you would know him, Reese. And immediately I told him that, oh, I got like the Kenan-Flagler Merit Scholarship, and I'm also a Vetter Dean. Like the conversation changed, and he was able to like move me to the next round. So like I'll just stop there, but like there's a lot of opportunity, trust me.
If Rashmi wants to provide anything, I'll let her go first, and then I'll go. I've probably got a little bit more to share.
Okay, no worries. Thank you so much. So I think the most amazing thing that I found out was the second year's help. So I think I have got some amazing mentors through this program, and they are like always on my back. They are checking on me every single day, be it from a small thing like, how's your mental health to how's your recruiting going, and if I can be of any help. Like I remember my mentor, she traveled to Vietnam. It's her hometown during the winter break, but I was preparing for my casing because I had an interview with BCG, but she was like checking on me every single day. Then I realized like it's like countries apart, and she's still taking time to reach out to me and see like how I'm doing. Do I need any help? I think that was very personal to me. Like I did not expect that I will be getting such amazing mentors such a short time, like 5 months. So I'm very grateful for that. And I think I'm very grateful for the Vetter Dean opportunity that I got to meet such amazing people, and I made those connections early on, which actually was like fruitful to me in the end. So that's a very personal experience I would like to share.
Yeah, so I'll talk about a few things. I'll echo the network and the mentorship. Like that's always going to be number one, the best thing that can come out of this. That's not necessarily like one thing that you plan for, but some of the things that the actual program itself does, a little bit less geared towards investment banking, unfortunately, because the investment banking recruiting process is just so structured that with VDF, it does tie in like some of what I'll talk about, the leadership opportunities for. We do like a leadership institute to start. They come in and they it kind of helps you with getting a little bit more comfortable in your own skin, developing and building some confidence. Like that's what's going to help you with recruiting that VDF is going to provide from like a programming standpoint. Then you take it a step further and there's lunch and learns where business leaders will come in and you can actually just cherry pick like some of the things that they say to be able to learn from their experiences. And then in addition, your resume will go, and I'm sure this is going to say the same way, Beth. Your resume as part of the VDF program will go not only in the normal resume book, if you get approved by CNL, which everybody does, it's just a formality. But then in addition to that, there's a VDF specific resume book. Again, I don't know that that's necessarily geared towards like investment banking because it's a specific recruiting process, but outside of that, other employers will ask or will receive the VDF specific resume book, and they'll likely look at that one first. And it kind of builds off what Sam was saying. You're in an exclusive group of students that were selected for this program. Usually it's denoted, and I don't want to toot my own horn or our own horns, but it's usually like the top 25 to 30 students in the class that are represented from a well-rounded perspective. It's not just grades, it's not just test scores, but it's leadership and volunteer and all these other things that make you stand out for a reason. So as Sam mentioned, the conversations can change when employers realize or alumni see that you were a part of this program. So it's all those things combined. You will also, from like a leadership perspective, you'll have these classes that are being developed. So like this is the first time this first year cohort, I didn't have this opportunity, but this first year cohort, so Rashmi and Samuel, plus in their second year, they'll have courses that are geared towards leadership and being able to have those kind of opportunities. It's more of an experiential learning type of opportunity that I would say. Again, it help you develop confidence, understand how you are best prepared as a leader and what you need to work on. So there's all these little intangible things that that are benefits of the program. Hopefully that answers everything that you're looking for, Alyssa.
Yeah, no, thank you. I really appreciate it. Very helpful to get your insights.
And one thing I want to mention about the course that I think is really important, a really important aspect, and why we decided to focus our efforts towards that with our students is the course is about leadership development, but we do it specifically in Mod 4. So towards the end of the year, at the point where students hopefully already have their internships secured, in which case you can then take it from theory into practice, specifically applying what you're learning in that course and in your courses to your internship. So it's supposed to be very applicable to you in an individual experience. So I think that's where Tyler's getting at, where it's just very much this experiential opportunity, a lot of self-reflection, that kind of stuff to really prepare you to be successful in your internships. And then for the second year course, it's helping you be prepared for your full-time opportunities. What other questions do we have?
Hello, my name's Ethan. I have maybe a little bit more of a, I don't know, tactical question. So we have the professional development resources available. Is there any guidance on helping us kind of determine how to apply that funding to maximize it? For example, like if you're interested in X, you should maybe use that fund to go get Scrum certified, right? Certified Scrum Master or PMP, things like that.
So I'm going to have a little bit less of a answer you want to hear or everybody wants to hear, and it's just forget about the funding. Don't even think about it. You do whatever it is that you need to do for your career, and then you have that backstop that, for me personally, yes, you can go do your certifications if that's going to be best for your career. What I've found beneficial and what started this year, the technological piece being added in, that's kind of nice. Now that doesn't kick in until you get here, so don't plan ahead for that. That's where I'm saying is like, don't necessarily think about the funds until they're actually there. What I've used it for was the career trek, both years, the career trek for investment banking to pay for, because career treks are not funded by the school. You typically will go on them during your fall break for between mods 1 and 2 for whatever career path you're choosing. And so like airfare, hotels, Ubers, those kind of things can get refunded for part of that development program. So that's what I've used both years, both when I was recruiting in my first year and then running the process in my second year. And that's been very helpful. But I've heard of people in my class that have been refunded for a new laptop because they needed to be able to run a PC instead of a Mac for modeling in Excel, or going to different kind of conferences that may help. Really, it can be kind of anything that's your professional development. It has to be approved, of course, but those are some of the instances that I've seen. I'm sure Sam's probably used his for investment banking, the career track, or for coffee chats if you're traveling to another location. That's where I think it gets used the most. But your Scrum certification or tech or whatever it may be, I'm almost positive things like that would get approved. Wall Street Journal, subscriptions. I mean, the list is kind of endless.
Yeah, like whatever you're interested in. Like for me, I used my to fund like my investment banking career track, and also like because I attended the National Black MBA conference, which held in DC sometime in September. So I attended that because I was trying to spread my tentacles. So I used it for that. So like you can use it for anything. Like if you're interested in tech, consulting, any of the career tracks you go for, as Tyler just mentioned, you can use it for anything.
One thing I'll note though is you can't use it towards like paying for classes. You can't, unless it's like a class that's taught outside of school that's going to be for your professional development, but you can't pay for like tuition. You can't pay for, I don't think you can pay for necessarily for books for your classes, but it's geared more towards like the extracurricular stuff, which you will have plenty of opportunities to be involved with or do to help supplement that. And it's only given to members of the VDF program. It's not available to the entire population of MBA students. So that's just one added bonus of being a part of this program that the vetters then fund.
Yeah, so it can't be, you can't get refunded for anything that is credit bearing. So anything for your MBA courses. So it's everything like Tyler said outside of that. Thanks for mentioning that. And I really appreciated Tyler's perspective on don't think about it too much. Think about what you need to do. And then from there, figure out, okay, what can I get reimbursed for? And so, yeah, so what we suggest is if you have any questions about what can be reimbursed or not, you can ask me. Also, just fill out the form and I can tell you whether it would be approved or not.
It's awesome. It's exactly what I was looking for. So thank you.
What was, can you explain the technology fund a bit more? I know it was mentioned, but I didn't hear how much it was.
Yeah, so that is newer. And so I think Rashmi and Samuel could be able to speak to that. That is, I believe, am I correct in saying there's a requirement for flat device technology in the classroom?
Yeah.
Maybe Samuel, you want to speak to this?
Yeah, sure. So like coming into the program, I just had like my MacBook and my phone. So like there's a rule that you always have to use like a flat device, so an iPad. And I didn't want to just spend like an extra bucks from my money going to buy an iPad since I have a MacBook. So I just had to like get an iPad and like the iPad pen, the iPad keyboard. And I got like, although I spent like 1,200, like 1,200, but I got reimbursed 1,000 because it's just $1,000. So anything you spend over 1,000, you get reimbursed just 1,000. And I think every one of us used it. So even though you have like a computer and you feel like, oh, I don't want to use a MacBook, I want to switch to like a PC, you can also get that and get reimbursed.
Cool. And that's on top of the education one? Oh, awesome.
And
Great.
just
You
to
guys are
specify,
being
that
treated
is
well. We did not
poor
have that in my class.
Poor Tyler. Yeah, so it is only for first year. So you've got the opportunity your first year to be able to do that. Whereas the professional development funding is $1,000 each year.
Who knows? Something might be added to you guys that would might.
Yeah.
Yeah, things change.
One thing about which you'll hear this a lot, and classmates or incoming students will talk about it a lot. the professors, especially in mods 1 and 2 for the core classes, are very keen on the flat device policy. Opinions on the actual policy itself, I'll leave outside of this call, but being able to abide by that, it's not just having like an iPad. You can have, I don't know that Apple makes devices outside of the iPads, but PCs that fold over that can turn into just a touch screen or that can lay completely flat. Those all count towards the flat device policy. And what that means is it's only during class that you have to abide by having this flat device policy. And again, it's definitely all the core classes that you'll take in mods 1 and 2. A lot of the times it's enforced in the elective courses that you have for the rest of school. And it's the idea behind it is like we have stadium seating, which I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen in the classrooms. If you're sitting in the second row and then you might distract somebody in the third row when you're just sitting there working on your laptop when it's up and you're not necessarily focused in class. So that's the idea behind it. But don't feel like you have to go buy an iPad if your PC folds over, or if you don't even want to if you want to just take notes by hand in class, like you don't feel like you have to go buy something.
Yeah, it definitely
Okay.
stems from that. But like Tyler's saying, there's other tech items that you can use and purchase if it's going to help you. Like if you need one of those like screen touch pens, whatever they're called, or a keyboard or a mouse, that type of thing can also be reimbursed. You don't have to do it just because of this flat device policy.
Great. Well, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Expanding on Carson's question, let's say hypothetically we were going to get a new laptop and we were hoping to use some of that reimbursement money. How retroactive is it? Like, should I just wait until July? I'm a little concerned that prices may go up depending on if tariffs are implemented and it's harder to import materials.
I want to say that if it's purchased for the program, the only timeline you have to keep it in is like you can only be reimbursed within the 180 days from purchase.
Perfect.
So wait until it's 180 days before your first day. But let me go clarify that with our business services coordinator to verify you don't have to have already started. I don't think you should if it's for the program.
Okay. Awesome.
Hey y'all, I actually had a couple questions too. I'm staying off camera today. It's pretty cold here in Chicago, so I think I might have caught something. But really was interested to hear all of y'all's questions. Great questions, by the way. I had a few questions, some unique to the VDF program, some not. And if you don't know the answer, no worries. Just curious if there's typically a distribution of folks who are part of the VDF program that go into particular industries? Is it more heavily weighted towards consulting and IB? Or are there folks in healthcare and tech? Like what's the distribution there typically, if there is one? So I'll pause for that one, but I do have a couple other ones as well.
From my class, it's pretty even split. Like we'll call it 28 maybe in the VDF program, and 3 are from investment banking. Several from consulting, some dual degree students that are in the pharmacy program or the MD, MBA program that are recruiting for healthcare, some real estate, a few tech. So it really just the idea for VDF is to have a diverse population of not just demographics, but backgrounds, experiences, what you're recruiting for. So it's not just everybody's in consulting or everybody's in banking. So you're going to have a diverse class.
Adding to the Tyler, I think the same for first years as well. So we have so many people who are recruiting for like real estate, healthcare, and of course, like an equal split between consulting and IB. So I think we have a very diverse cohort. And I was very surprised when I joined the VDA program. I was like, how everybody is so accomplished. Like we have people who are like coming from military, they have been leading the teams for many years. And it was like such a diverse background. So yeah, everyone is trying to go into different fields.
Yeah, I think for my class, we're just myself and Bobby from IB. Then you have Rashmi and a couple of folks from consulting. Then there's a lot of like 3 or 4 vets. Then people from operations, people going into marketing, tech. Like it spans across all industries.
Gotcha. That's good to hear. always nice to hear different perspectives from folks with different interests. So that's great. And then my other question was really, are there folks who, so are the VDF members split across legacies, or is everyone together? If I don't know if that's because I
Yeah.
figured there would be probably other opportunities for the VDF folks to get together and spend time together and get to know each other.
Yeah, so we are split across the legacy. So I am from Maple, go Maple. So yeah, I have like my other legacy, and I have been having fun with them. There are few people who are like from different legacy. Like I think Samuel is a different one, and everyone else. So yeah, we just like meet during the meetups or any kind of information session that is happening, and even like visits to the company. Like we visited NASCAR last year, so it was fun, and we are also visiting Truist, as Beth said. So hopefully we will meet our people, and we also have like a Carolina Casual that is being hosted by VDF in the upcoming weeks. So again, we will meet all these amazing VDF people together for the socialization.
Gotcha. Thanks, Rashmi. Last question, not necessarily specific to VDF program, but I did have the chance to head down to Chapel Hill over the break. No one was there, so it was pretty dead, but I did see the construction going on. I was curious, what are the plans for that? When's that planning to be completed? What's the intended purpose of that building?
Any of the students feel like an answer?
If you know the answer, of course.
I'd say, Beth, go ahead. You don't want to hear my answer because I don't get to use it. It's the new business school, and it's going to be
Yeah.
finished after the time I graduate, but it should be in time for the time you guys get here, Beth, if I'm not mistaken.
Elise, so the intention is because the business school in general is expanding and we're going to be needing more space, more enrollment, possibly in the undergrad program as well as the graduate program. So really trying to grow in those aspects. So it is my understanding, I don't know exactly where we're currently located, who's going to be in that space, but I believe that so the full-time MBA program staff and there's going to be classrooms are going to be moved into the new building. There may still be times that you have classes in McCall. But that timeline, I think it's going to be done sometime this year. What I've heard is use of like classroom space,
September.
possibly January 2026. I'm not 100%. Okay, there's a lot, you know, with construction and building, it never goes as planned. I think October, November, there's going to be some transition as to space usage and being ready. Will it be ready in the fall? We're waiting to see.
Gotcha. Very cool. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
For what it's worth, I also heard that through the grapevine that it was going to be complete in September, but that we wouldn't start taking classes there until the second semester. And the grapevine is gym space over at the Wood Center, so for real estate. So I feel like he's probably got a pretty good grasp on when it would actually be utilized.
Probably.
I've got a couple of like nitpicky questions, like not important whatsoever, but like for well, let me actually ask, does anybody have like any important questions? Because good deal.
Go for it.
So for this flat device policy, I think I read it, but I kind of figured it was more of like a recommendation. Sounds like it's pretty stringent, at least for the first year. For this flat device thing, the iPads where it like flips over into a triangle and it's kind of standing up, and then you attach like a keyboard to it with a mouse, basically just building a laptop in front of it. Is that permissible, or it's like the device literally needs to be flat on the table? And so like how, hence the unimportant part, but
Yeah,
curious.
I'll take that. So like as an example, an iPad, like I could set, you can see I can have it elevated like that. And I wouldn't worry so much that it's like, you're going to get in trouble for this. Like some professors are going to be lax about having a laptop in your first year, not so much, especially in the core classes, but It's like if I have an actual like the smart keyboard for the iPad where it will actually sit up like a laptop. That would not fall in the flat device policy. So it pretty much is that you want it to be flat. Or the other example is like if you have a PC that completely folds flat, you can have both the keyboard and the screen on the desk at the same time. But just a normal laptop that doesn't fold all the way down, like that's what they want to avoid.
Okay, cool deal.
I
And
wonder,
then
just quick
oh,
follow
sure.
up on that. What I might do is I might reach out to someone to see if there are any like obvious like no, this doesn't qualify, to see if there's any things that they're seeing that don't qualify as flat device technology. And I can share that with y'all as well.
That'll be good. Thank you. The other quick one that I had was, obviously everybody goes into kind of their own concentration. Tyler, you mentioned there's 3 investment banking, like you know pretty well within the Better Deans program who's kind of in alignment with your concentration. Is it pretty run of the mill that within the Better Deans program, the people who have the same concentration somewhat create their own cohort within there to take advantage of the program within alignment with their career goals, or not really? It's pretty widespread.
From my class, no. The intent and the way, like some of my closest friends that I've built in the program are not in investment banking that are in VDF. I'll take it a step further to say the 2 other people in my VDF class that are in investment banking are also 2 of my closest friends, but we devote all of our time when we recruited for banking aside from VDF. When you step in the room for a VDF related activity, the idea of what you're recruiting for kind of goes out the window. Besides the fact of being able to offer, if you're talking and having a discussion about like a perspective on something, but you don't align to your career path that you're recruiting for when you're doing VDF related activities. The intent and the purpose of VDF is as a group building leadership skills, working on service projects, like the investment banking consulting, like that's out of the door as soon as you get into the room. So I wouldn't say that, yes, when you're outside of VDF and you're focused on career stuff, you might gravitate towards your VDF partners that are in investment banking, real estate, whatever it is that you're recruiting for. But the time spent together in VDF, it's not geared towards the thing that you're specifically recruiting for.
Gotcha. So what kind of prompted that question was, you mentioned that there's like the resume portfolio, right? Where, but for example, if I'm trying to get out of finance and not in finance, like it wouldn't make much sense to include me in that's what's handed to the finance recruiters. So does that get whittled down by when you're handing that to recruiters? So they're only looking at people in real estate or only looking at people interested in finance. So that Better Dean's portfolio of resumes essentially gets whittled down to what they're looking for, and hence probably a better opportunity.
So
But I can
go
keep
ahead.
going, but
Go ahead.
So it is a VDF resume book that goes to the employer that wants the VDF resume book. It is not specific to this person's recruiting for banking, this person's recruiting for consulting. They can probably pick that out. But there's typically a conversation between whoever it is from the employer and whoever's providing the VDF book to say, hey, here's the VDF book. These are our top talented students, but these 5 people from the cohort of 30 are recruiting for marketing, and you're talking to a marketing specific employer. Like they'll probably call that out, or they might have like a networking session where it's VDF only people that get to go to this type of session. The people that are in banking aren't going to necessarily show up to the consulting networking session. So it doesn't get dwindled down to who's recruiting for what. It's the entire book. but I wouldn't say like that disqualifies anybody from specific opportunities. And Beth, please feel free to add if I'm missing anything.
Yeah, so one thing I wanted to add is I do want to, I'm working with our employer engagement and recruiting team member, Sandra Chandler, to make sure we're doing this effectively. And it is my desire to approach it from, yeah, sure, if they want the whole Vetter Dean's Fellows resume book, they can have it. But we're looking to make sure that employers are getting the Vetter Dean's Fellows resumes from the book that are specifically recruiting for that. So we are intentional in that effort, those efforts. I am planning to have us be intentional in those efforts. So they're not wasting their time, looking at other resumes that they don't need to be looking at. As well as once you are done recruiting and you've accepted an offer, we do remove that resume from the resume book so that employers aren't looking at you. If you're wanting recruiting for IB, they're not looking at your resume for IB if you already have accepted an offer.
And Beth, one thing I'll add real quick, and sorry to cut you off, Samuel. The idea too is like, let's say you go in and recruit for investment banking, and that happens. That's the very first thing that is done with recruiting for any type of career path in the MBA program. If you don't place in the investment banking recruiting process and then you start to recruit for something else, the problem is if you only had, like, let's say the 5 marketing people for marketing jobs early in the first semester getting that resume book, but then the people from IB are starting to recruit for other types of jobs after they didn't place, then you're kind of missing the point of the opportunities there for just specifically narrowing down to a specific sample of the population. So that's the one thing I'll add. You may not even end up in what you think from a career perspective, and that's not to discourage anybody. That's just to say that's why it's not necessarily just geared towards one specific subset of the VDF population.
Yeah, like I will share like a personal experience. So for me, I went through the IB recruitment process and I got my offer sometime in early December. But sometime in late November, I just got like a cold outreach from someone in Eli Lilly, because if you actually see that I have like an MD degree, I have a master's of public health, this guy is interested in healthcare. So Eli Lilly reached out to me. Amgen also reached out to me just to ask questions. Hey, what part of healthcare are you interested in? But like immediately I got my offer, I just had to let them know that, oh, I have an offer. I've signed this offer with an investment bank, and thank you for reaching out. So I would just say, like, submit like your best resume when they start calling for like resumes, and just let it be.
So we are at the end of our time. I really appreciate all of you attending. I really appreciate all of our student panelists that came. If you have further questions, feel free to reach out to me. And if you want to get connected with any other current students or any of the students that are on this call, we can try to get that set up if they're able to. Yeah. Is there anything else before we head off? I'm going to stay on a little bit longer just in case. And Samuel just put his LinkedIn profile in the chat.
I did just want to
Awesome.
say again,
You guys
thank
for
you
your time.
guys all for, again, taking the time, and Beth, for setting this up. It's really good to, be able to see some of the other people who are going to be going through this program with me, and just hear from, I know Tyler, you and I have talked quite a bit, but to hear from other students as well. Just I'm really excited. I was so pumped up when I heard that I got into this program, and I was excited to see who else was in there too. So I'm really looking forward to it, guys.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Thanks, Carson. Thanks, Rashmi.
Hey, I won't be here when you guys start, but Samuel and Rashmi will. But I'm happy to connect, and just want to say congrats, everybody. So if anybody wants to connect, please let me know.
Thank you.
And congrats to you, Tyler. You're
Thank
ready
you.
to go.
Not quite. I'm not trying to rush it.
All
And I
right.
can
All right,
stay
do
on,
well,
Beth, if
guys.
there's any
Bye,
follow-up
guys.
questions.
See you guys. Thank you.
Bye.
See you, David.
Thank you. Bye-bye.